You know that feeling when your boss calls you into the office, tells you you're getting a raise, and for one brief, beautiful moment, you actually feel like things are about to change. You run the math in your head. You think about the debt you'll finally pay off, the breathing room you'll finally have. Maybe you even tell your partner that night. And then the next paycheck hits. And somehow, you can't quite explain it. Nothing feels different. The account still drains the same way. The stress doesn't lift. The raise just disappeared. So where did it go? That's exactly what this video is about. Because this isn't bad luck and it isn't your fault. It's a system working exactly as designed. And once you see how it works, you can't unsee it. The first thief. Inflation gets paid before you do. Let's start with the most invisible one, because it operates entirely in the background. The average raise in America right now sits around 3.5%. Sounds decent, right? The problem is inflation is running at roughly 2.5 to 3%. So the real raise, the part that actually improves your life, is somewhere between 0.5% and 1%. That's not a raise. That's rounding error. Here's what this looks like in real numbers. Say you make $60,000 a year and you get a 3.5% raise. That's $2,100 in new money. But inflation at 2.5% means everything you buy, groceries, rent, insurance, gas, costs about $1,500 more this year than last year. So before you've done anything, before you've celebrated, before you've changed a single habit, $1,500 of that $2,100 raise is already spoken for. You're left with $600 of actual new purchasing power. Think about it this way. Imagine you're trying to fill a bathtub with the faucet running, but there's a drain at the bottom that nobody told you about. You keep pouring water in and wondering why the tub never fills. Inflation is that drain. It runs constantly, quietly. And most people never factor it in. Here's the thing that makes this worse. From 2021 to 2022, inflation hit 7 to 9%, while raises averaged around 4%. That means millions of Americans got a raise and still got poorer. In real terms, they took a pay cut, while their HR department sent a congratulations email. The second thief, the government's cut. Now let's talk about taxes. And I want to be precise here, because there's a myth worth killing. A lot of people believe that getting a raise can push them into a higher tax bracket, and they'll actually take home less money. That's not how it works. You only pay the higher rate on the dollars above the threshold, not on everything. But, and this matters, the tax bite on a raise is still significant. Let me show you exactly how this works. You're earning $60,000 and you get a $5,000 raise. On that $5,000, you owe federal income tax at 12%, which is $600. Then FICA, that's Social Security and Medicare, takes another 7.65%, which is $382. If you live in a state with income tax, add roughly another $200 to $300 on top of that. So out of a $5,000 raise, somewhere between $980 and $1,280 goes straight to taxes. You never see it. It never touches your bank account. The raise your employer announced was $5,000. The raise that actually reached you was closer to $3,700. Here's where it gets interesting and genuinely messed up. Before 1985, tax brackets weren't automatically adjusted for inflation. So if inflation pushed your salary up 10%, but your real purchasing power stayed the same, you'd still get bumped into a higher bracket. The Heritage Foundation found that by 1981, bracket creep had increased the share of taxpayers facing high marginal rates by more than 10 times compared to 1960. Pure inflation, zero real income, higher taxes. They called it bracket creep, and it quietly robbed an entire generation. We fixed that federally. But here's the uncomfortable reality. Only 24 states currently index their income tax brackets for inflation. If you live in one of the other 26, bracket creep is still happening to you right now, just slowly enough that you haven't noticed. The third thief, your brain. Here's what nobody talks about. Even if your raise survives inflation and taxes, your own psychology is waiting to finish the job. There's a concept in behavioral economics called the treadmill. The idea is simple and brutal. Humans adapt to new circumstances fast. Whatever makes you happy today becomes your new normal within months, and then you need something bigger to feel the same way. Researchers tracked thousands of people over 16 years and found that 65% of the happiness boost from a raise fades within 4 years. 4 years. You work hard, earn more, feel good briefly, and then your brain sets and starts wanting more. Here's your brain working against you in real time. You get the raise. You feel relief. 2 weeks later, you notice your current apartment feels a little smaller than it used to. Your car seems older. You deserve a nicer dinner. You earned it. 1 streaming subscription becomes 3. The gym you drove past every day now seems worth joining. None of these feel like bad decisions in the moment. Each one is totally reasonable, but together, they're called lifestyle inflation, and they're quietly consuming whatever the taxman left behind. The numbers back this up. Americans save just 4.6 cents of every disposable dollar on average. And here's the stat that will genuinely blow your mind. Nearly half of Americans earning over $100,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. Not because $100,000 isn't enough, it objectively is, but because spending expands to fill whatever container you pour it into, always. Let me show you what this looks like over time. Someone earns $50,000, gets a raise to $60,000. Lifestyle adjusts, gets a raise to $75,000. Lifestyle adjusts again. 10 years pass. They're earning $90,000, and they feel exactly as financially stressed as they did at $50,000. The treadmill kept pace. The finish line kept moving. Here's what should have happened instead. I know what you're thinking. Okay, Seb, so every raise I get just vanishes. What am I supposed to do? Refuse the money? No. But the move is to act on the raise before your brain does. Here's the thing most people get backwards. They receive the raise, let it hit their checking account, live off it for a few months until it becomes normal, and then wonder where it went. The people who actually build wealth do something different. They intercept the raise before lifestyle inflation can claim it. The math is not complicated. If your take-home from a $5,000 raise is $3,720 after taxes, that's $310 a month. If you redirect half of that, $155 a month, into a Roth IRA or index fund before you ever adjust your spending, your lifestyle never catches up to it. Your brain never gets the chance to normalize it. And $155 a month at a 7% average return over 30 years becomes roughly $185,000. Not from sacrifice, from timing. The generation before us had it easier in one specific way. Productivity growth and wage growth moved together. From 1948 to 1979, if you worked harder and the economy grew, your paycheck reflected it. Since 1979, productivity has grown 3.5 times faster than wages for the typical worker, according to the Economic Policy Institute. The gains went somewhere. They just didn't go to you. Look. Here's the bottom line. Your raise is real, but it has to survive 3 ambushes before it improves your life: inflation, taxes, and your own psychology. Most of the time, it doesn't fully survive any of them. The takeaways are simple. First, always calculate your raise in real terms. Subtract inflation before you celebrate. Second, understand your actual take-home after FICA and income taxes, because the number your employer announced is not the number that reaches you. Third, move money before your brain can adapt to it. Automate the investment before the lifestyle creep sets in. None of this is easy. If it were, 48% of people making 6 figures wouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck. But it is completely doable. And it starts with understanding what's actually happening to your money. The raise didn't disappear by accident. Now you know exactly where it went. That's the first step to keeping some of it.